Howdy YouTube, and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. And today we're going to be doing a headlight refurbish. As you can see here, these headlights are a bit worse for wear, so we're going to bring them back to their former glory. I'm sure you've all seen this kind of video before. There's plenty of them out there on YouTube, but I'm going to show you the way I do it. Occasionally I do get some people saying, hey Gunny, you know, do a video on how you do the restoration on a set of headlights. It's quite common to see cars that are sort of 5+ years and older here in Australia especially, that have faded headlights. Thankfully, it's actually quite an easy job to fix. That's why this is a shorter video than usual. We're not going to be mucking around, we're just getting stuck straight into it. So the first thing that I did was I actually told the panel beater guys to take them out. Now, if you're playing from home and you don't want to risk damaging the headlights when you pull them out, or you don't want to go to the extent of possibly actually having to take the front bumper off, because sometimes you do actually have to take the front bumper off to get the headlights out. So sometimes it actually can make sense just to mask it up. As long as you do your masking properly, it's all good. So same procedure will apply, however a little bit of different masking if you do decide to leave them in. I'm not judging. If you want to mask, you go and mask. But yeah, what you start off by doing is getting some 800 grit. Well, that's what all this one needed. I've done quite a few headlight restorations over the years. Sometimes you really need to rip into that top layer with something a little bit coarser. So yeah, sometimes 400, sometimes even as coarse as 320. But as long as you go down through the grades, so sorry, up through the grades. So you might, if you do need to hit it with 320, maybe go 320, 400, 600, 800, and then finish it off with your 1200, which is what you saw me doing just there. So I do like to finish them off wet. I've done a few over the years, and I've found that if you don't finish them off with something like 12 or 1500 wet, you'll actually end up seeing some pigtails in the final finish, or the final result. So as I say, I have found that yeah, 1200 is totally fine. So 1200 will remove the 800 scratches, and it's also still going to be coarse enough that that your clear coat is going to adhere to it as well. Another thing that some people always do ask me when they see a photo of this on Instagram or something like that, when they see me doing this, they say, hey, do you use plastic adhesion promoter? And I have done over the years a few times, and I've found if you do use plastic adhesion promoter, there's like a probably 3 in 10 chance that the lens of the headlight will go and separate, and it's just not worth it. And I ended up finding out through a mate of mine, so a guy that I work with actually does headlight restorations as a bit of a side hustle on the weekend, right? And he did a bit of research into it, and he found that supposedly the kind of plastic that these are made out of doesn't require plastic primer anyway. And it makes sense, because the types of plastics that we usually put plastic adhesion promoter over are not fully rigid, so they're not like a totally hard plastic, whereas this plastic here is so hard that you're not going to get any flex out of it, and because it doesn't flex, it's not going to crack the clear coat. And one of the loan cars from our workshop is a Holden Astra. We sprayed that using this method 4 years ago, and it's still holding strong. That's sort of like our little test piece, so we always keep an eye on it. And yeah, look, it's yet to flake up, so if it's holding strong after 4 years, it's definitely a method that I do stand behind, and I would do it this way on my own vehicle. But I have actually had one person say that they do prefer to put a coat of 1K plastic adhesion promoter down first, but they said that they just put a really light mist coat to stop it from sort of separating, because that is what can happen. For whatever reason, the type of plastic that these are made out of does not like 1K plastic adhesion promoter, so just be warned. I recommend just going straight over it with your 2-pack clear coat, and you should not have any issues with adhesion. As I said before, we did that with our Astra, and it's still holding strong after 4 years. So yep, just mix up your favorite clear coat. Make sure you sand them down nicely first with some 800 grit. Sometimes you may have to go a little bit coarser, as I mentioned before. Finish it off with something like 12 or 1500 wet. Couple of coats of clear coat, and that's it. So that's why it's a bit of a shorter video. It really is a pretty straightforward method, and look at the results. So from a dirty yellowed lens to something that looks straight up brand new, and it's really easy to do. You could also polish them up if you're just at home and you've got like a mini polisher or a mini buff or something like that. You can maybe sand them down with like 1500, then 2000 grit and buff them up. It's something that's probably not going to last as long as the clear coat. So this clear coat, again, this can actually be buffed up itself every couple of years when you do your polishing on your car. But we'll leave it at that for this video there, gunners. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Hope you've learned something. If you've got something you think you could add to this, or if you've got a method that you think is better than mine, be sure to let everybody know in the comments section. And until next time, get out there and paint some shit. Gunman out.